the government of Ghana is calling for sustainable ways of ensuring that we deal with plastics in our country. It says that all over the world, negotiations are there to formulate an internationally binding law aimed at tackling plastic pollution. Ghana continues to grapple with what experts describe as a plastic menace, as an estimated 86% of the country's waste plastic load and it's improperly disposed, resulting in plastic clogging up storm water drains and rivers. Aside from its contribution to perennial flooding, plastic waste also affects marine life and poses danger to the global fight to tackle climate change. Head of Diplomatic Affairs Desk, Blessed Soga, is in Nairobi, where the negotiations open today. He joins us live. Blessed, is this law seeking to ban plastics?
Well, Aisha, I hope you can hear me. And we are right here at the United Nations headquarters in Kenya, where the intergovernmental negotiations on plastics has started. Now, what you need to know is that the building that you find right next to us is where countries all over the world are gathered and are having conversations on how to deal with this plastic menace. Here in Ghana, I should say, we know that plastics has been a major hurdle for the country, giving its associated issues of pollution and its interconnected issues of how government is unable to effectively manage the waste. Is the reason for which these negotiations are ongoing. Ghana has been leading the fight and stating its position on this matter here in Kenya, leading the group of African nations that are calling for sustainable production of plastics, and also associated with it is the need to have an effective management system. So that conference has started, officially opened by Kenya's President William Ruto, who was here earlier today to introduce what the Kenyan version and position on this matter has been. Technically, the draft would have to be adopted by all member states. And of course, that would then lead to how fine-tuned this piece of document would be. We do not know if it will go to the extent of banning it, except to say that there is a united call amongst all member states here calling for drastic measures to tackle this plastic menace. We can listen to Kenya's President, William Ruto, who addressed the gathering earlier today.
Well, we'll be getting to hear the Kenyan president on that. But Blessed, before that, what has been Ghana and Africa's position at large?
Ghana is representing the Africa Group, leading that charge of developing nations who say that they, acknowledge, the kind of jobs, the kind of opportunities that this whole plastic industry, presents to its growing population and to tackling the issues of job creation. However, they are pointing out very clearly that they would need a more sustainable way of tackling the issue because it's, posing danger to marine life, and there will be a need for some laws in the coming days to tackle that.
Right, Blessed Soga is with the Diplomatic Affairs Desk. We can now hear Ghana's position on this.
Deliberate on plastic pollution. As a region, we embrace the comprehensive life cycle approach to prevent plastic pollution. On chemicals, polymers, and problematic plastics, the Africa Group calls for sustainable consumption and production of primary plastic and eliminating specific problematic polymers, chemicals, products, and applications of concern. Africa calls for measures for full transparency and information disclosure along the entire plastic value chain. On the just transition, Africa acknowledges that implementing the future instrument may lead to job and livelihood losses, as well as other socio-economic impacts along the plastic value chain. Therefore, as a group, we call for this instrument to take into account the national circumstances and ensure a fair, equitable, and inclusive transition for affected populations, with special consideration for people in vulnerable situations, especially women, children, the youth, and waste pickers. On waste management and legacy plastic pollution, the Africa Group calls for an instrument that operationalizes the waste hierarchy by prioritizing waste prevention and reduction before recycling and management. We further call for effective measures that ensure environmentally sound waste management practices at different stages, namely the handling, collection, transportation, storage, recycling, and final disposal. The instrument should include effective measures to ensure cleanup and remediation of legacy pollution in all environments. On the financing mechanism, Chair, the Africa Group stresses the need for a new dedicated multilateral fund to provide the necessary, predictable, sustainable, and adequate financial resources for countries in need to meet their commitments under the future instrument. The multilateral fund should be the vehicle for providing financial assistance to recipient countries on a grant basis for enabling activities and the incremental cost. On capacity building, development, and infrastructure, the Africa Group wishes to emphasize the need of advanced infrastructures and institutional capacity building and development for African countries to effectively implement the future treaty. On research, innovation, awareness, and education, the Africa Group calls for an instrument that facilitates information and knowledge exchange, international cooperation, and coordinating best available science on sustainable consumption and production, research and technologies, and indigenous knowledge. On private sector and stakeholder engagement, the Africa Group encourages parties to promote actions that will stimulate